This is a stylophone, which for all intents and purposes is a toy synthesizer. And today what we're going to do with it is use it in conjunction with the MPC one to make a full track. Obviously, it is fairly absurd to feed like a $30 toy synth into an at least $800 piece of equipment because that's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but in the process, you're going to get a basically accidental crash course in a bunch of sound design principles and shaping samples into synths, as well as I just like the absurdity of trying to make something sound good with this janky little device. All right, so in an affront to both God and good taste, I have this run into my MPC, set to mono. It sounds kind of bad, and I kind of hate it. And we also have a little bit of vibrato. We can go even higher, which is frankly an abomination. We're going to use this to make something that hopefully actually sounds good. That's our goal today. I should also mention, you do need a screwdriver and 3 AA batteries, which seems excessive. And it also has a little built-in speaker, which we're not using in this case. So let me just try to get like one really clean note. It takes a second to start. You can see that little pitch bend at the start here. Suddenly, that starts to sound a lot more usable, doesn't it? And we're not at all done. Let me get a couple more samples, and then we'll go from there. I want to try to get one without that pitch bend. There's a reason that I want a really long sample, and you're going to see why in a second. Let's get something higher. And turn on the vibrato. Do I dare go higher? Sounds like ass. So now this has served its main purpose, to be a source of just the raw sound that we're going to be shaping. And also just a fun gimmick because I think it would be fun to try to make this thing sound good, even though it started off so janky. We're going to get back to drums in a bit, but I want to start off with some more synth stuff. And I should mention that the stuff I'm about to do can be done in any DAW, a lot of different hardware, a lot of different plugins. I'm just using the MPC for one thing, because y'all are probably more likely to click on the video if the MPC is involved, and because it's a really nice visually laid out way to show shaping samples into synths. So let's start off by trying to make some sort of bass. And I might actually just start a new track preemptively. So let's start a new key group. Let's go into our sample pool and load in that second sample and just cut off the beginning. I want a nice long, essentially a single cycle waveform to work with. And I also want to make this mono. So let's maybe change this to the key of F, so I don't have to pitch it down as much. So now let's start to shape it, start to carve away at it with filters. So I've got a high cut filter, aka a low pass filter. Hopefully you can start to hear where this is going. I'm going to turn up the depth of my filter envelope and start to get a filter shape going. Now we've got a bass pluck. If I extend this, and maybe turn up the resonance, we've got a proper kind of 80s style bass sweep. It's a classic sound, and we've just replicated it with the jankiest, cheapest synth I could find. Now it still sounds kind of janky. Let's see if we can beef this up a little bit. First of all, by adding another layer. So I'm going to bring on that same stylophone layer. And let's just pitch this an octave up, say. That's not bad, but I did just remember we actually have just a straight up octave up sample. Unless that, of course, is the vibratoed one. Let's find out. Okay, so here's what we've done now. We've created the second thing that I wanted to show in a kind of a visceral way, which is unison. Basically, think of unison like a choir of human voices. In a choir of humans, you've got people of all different vocal timbres and tonalities, so even if they're all singing the same note, it creates a much kind of thicker, more lush sound because all of these slightly different voices all come together. In this case, we've got one note that's just a very constant pitch, and then one that's wavering a little bit. And together, it sounds a lot richer. And that actually worked better than I thought it would. We could take this even further by adding more layers. So for instance, let's add that main layer again. And I'm just going to fine pitch it around a tiny bit. So here's without any fine pitching. Here's with a little bit. This is basically foundational subtractive synthesis, is what I'm trying to sneak teach you here. And let's bring in one more, just a nice kind of steady octave up, like I originally planned. And I might want to try to bury that one volume-wise a little bit. That'll do. And hey, while we're at it, while we're engaged in shenanigans, what if we started panning some stuff? Turn that up a bit. And I'm trying to find a balance that sounds about right to me. So we've got ourselves some stereo width. We're not done yet, though. Let's look into adding some effects. How about... Woo! Some diode clip. Probably a bit much. Let's switch this out for just kind of a more regular distortion. Maybe switch to soft distortion. That's working for me. So next up, let's come back to this little pitch bendy sound. And I want to make sure that I get like the exact beginning of it. That will do. Let's bring in our friend, the vibrato. And I like that the pitch bend is duplicated across both these samples. That's kind of an underrated little benefit of this coming from the stylophone. I thought it was going to be a bug. It's actually a feature. These are shorter samples, so I want to make sure that this sound itself is fairly stabby. And actually, while I'm at it, let's just cut off all this junk at the end here. And now, let's use our filter envelopes to let this ring out a little bit. So that's where it abruptly ends. So that sound probably ends too abruptly, so this might end up having to be more of like an ARP or something. Because I don't want to hear that abrupt ending. So I think that's going to have to do. Let's recreate that pluck that we had earlier. That sounds all right. So now, we've got a very basic pluck. Let's see if we can enhance it a bit. How about with some delay? So a nice ping-ponging delay. So that time seems... maybe dampen it a little bit. Bit of reverb. Go easy on that one. And I think I actually want this to clamp down just a little bit more. Remember, that used to be our stylophone. So we got this. And this. Let's keep building. For this one, we're going to take full advantage of the vibrato. Not as a layer, but as kind of the focal point. Let me just grab the highest one because we're trying to make a lead here. That sounds adequate. Oh, good. It lasts a long time. Okay. Good. So we do this. And it doesn't sound like it abruptly cuts off. Excellent. Okay, so we've got that set. And I might actually add an octave up layer with the longer sample. Okay, then that's a little janky. This is going to be even jankier. Prepare your eardrums. That actually sounds kind of dope. I don't know, maybe we turn that down a little bit and call it a day. It's kind of metallic. I probably want to add like a little bit of filter movement. So how about this? Sounds a little like a swarm of bees. Like a swarm of metallic bees. But I think that works. And then, before we got stereo width from like our little fake unison, now we're going to get stereo width instead from chorus. So here's without. Here's with. This could definitely use some shimmer. Ooh. Granulator might be dope. So I'm going to pitch this up an octave. Reverse it. Definitely need to cut a lot of low end from that because that's muddy AF. See, that immediately cleans it up. Maybe we boost. A little bit of high end. That's already sounding a lot better to my ears anyway. So now, one more synth element before we start actually building a track here. I promise we're going to get there. Let me duplicate this key group program, and I'm going to assign this to an unused track. And we're going to do some shenanigans with this LFO. I'm going to send this to filter. You can see where I'm going with this. We're going full 90s, baby. It's maybe a bit extreme, but that does sound nice. That resonance through that distortion is just... mwah. So let's bring up the tempo a bit. I almost wonder if we tweak this. Let me just save this in case I mess it up. But I almost wonder if we want to tweak this filter a little bit. I'm not going to do that, but that would be kind of fun. What about eighth note? That's a little more what I initially had in mind when I went for this. So now let's get ourselves a drum foundation with the special guest I mentioned earlier. Ta-da! The stylophone drum. I've actually had this little abomination sitting around for quite a while. I made a video with it way back in the day, and we're now going to sample some drum sounds from it and make a proper little techno track. Once I get some batteries into it, of course. Let me plug this in so that we can hear it in all of its abominable glory. Jeez. All right, let's see if we can sample this thing just into pads this time. What an abomination. Okay, this clap I actually kind of like unironically. I need another hi-hat of some sort. Oh, here we go. God, these are awful. This is like the beatboxing kit. What even is that? Why would that be what they did? Nope, I hate that sound so much. Okay, that's enough of this. I think we can at least work with this. It might be a pain, but we will do so. So I gotta go like actually yoink these sounds. There's that clap. What a bad sound. This one might actually be usable. Okay, so let's get the kick here. That little bit at the end sounds very bad. In fact, this whole kick sounds pretty bad. Let's see if we can't clean this up a little bit. First of all, I'm actually going to take a freaking pitch envelope to this thing. Give it a little more attack. That went a long way. I want to get rid of that little second bit. I think it's definitely better than the original. It's still not great. Maybe a filter sweep might help. In fact, that actually might help more than the envelope shenanigans that we have just committed. That's not bad. It's not great, but it's not awful. That's got some heft to it. I actually kind of like that. Sounds more like a trance kick, but we'll make it work. And what if we get truly desperate, we'll try the decimator. For now, we'll keep it very subtle. That will work for me. Save this. God, it still sounds just so ridiculous. Like it really wants you to pay attention to it. All right, so for this clap, just cut a bunch of them lows right off rip. That's a lot cleaner. Do we want to soft clipper this too? It sounds like it's so freaking... Okay. I do not want any of these in a mute group. What gave you that idea? Good Lord, that is harsh. So let's fix that next. I don't need those lows. Okay, this is going to hurt. So we're just going to cut a bunch of upper mids. I think that's getting rid of the painful frequency. Sorry for the focus issues, by the way. Let's fix that. See, this one needs Jesus. And maybe to be shortened a lot. That's like all it's good for is a tiny... I feel like my whole drum bus is clipping, so let's just do a little bit of this, a little bit of a limiter. And I feel like maybe we did tame this a little bit. It's quite possibly a bit much. So that's a drum kit. So let me just quickly sequence in some kick drum. Ugh. I do not enjoy that little hiss. Cover it up a little bit. That still sounds kind of bad. Maybe this needs some bit crushing to kind of hide the messiness. All right, so let's just place this on frickin' everything. We're getting somewhere. Maybe not a good place, but we're getting to it anyway. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and then we'll have at least the basics of our drum part. And that will probably be as good as it's going to get, barring some light finagling. I think this clap could be better. Screw it, let's get a decimator in here. So the reason I'm doing it within a dedicated effect is so I can dial it in. And then affect the dry wets. That kick still sounds stupid. No matter what I freaking do, it still sounds dumb. Okay, so now we've got our drum part. We've got our bass all ready to go. Let's get a ducker. Techno. And I should mention I'm about to yoink a melody from a song that I've made in the past. And in fact, speaking of yoinkage, let's just copy bass notes and bring them to our fun track. Maybe do that an octave up, but regardless, all I have to do to get that started is to go to the beginning here, paste them. Okay, so now I've transposed these up an octave. And I definitely need to sidechain this, probably pretty heavily. Maybe add like a little bit of reverb. That'll work for now. Let's get our melody in. This could use some more gain, I think. Nailed it. Now, does this sound polished? No. But does it sound like more than just a dumbass little stylophone by itself? Yes. Let me just fix one of those notes there. And then just copy paste this to hell and back. So this needs to shift here. Okay, so we've got like a basic little art part. And in fact, I might adjust that a bit and then just copy and paste it like literally freaking everywhere. Okay, so now we have this. We could build this further. And that's how you turn two of the jankiest music production devices into something that at least is listenable. If you'd like to see some more weird music production stuff, you can click or tap up over here somewhere, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching.